Alright, hello everyone. This is another +1 to the list of movies that came out and I watched but I couldn't talk about. So, what is the name of this? From the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Really, I had to, like, Mr. Wick is dead. Keanu Reeves has played way too much, but they still need to make things, don't they? So, Ana de Armas is now an action movie star. I haven't watched Ghosted, but I imagine she plays similarly there too. For the most part, everyone's acting is pretty fine. It's pretty okay. I have no comments to make on that, really. They're all good. But I will say, like, a few lines or two, like, were kind of forced or, like, how should I say, like, obvious or, like, yeah, forced. Like, for example, Ana de Armas, the character Ana de Armas plays is called Eve, and Winston says something like what makes an obvious parallel towards Adam and Eve with one of his lines, and that was obvious and forced, you know? Ana de Armas, she plays a badass gun fu assassin, and honestly, it's really is interesting because this is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina, and we want to see the similar stuff there. But Keanu is dead, or Keanu is not dead. John Wick is dead, although this is taking place when he is still alive, but we're not following John Wick, we're following Eve. However, with each movie, the choreography has like jumped up and up and up every single time. And the main character, John Wick in that case, or like sometimes the side characters such as Halle Berry and black guy with the dog, I'm sorry. You know, they've been becoming more and more capable and more withstanding. That comes to more so their parallels with being a comic book movie, but you know, that's something I want to talk about later. They've been becoming more and more capable. However, the thing is, like, John Wick is this legendary ninja assassin, and he's supposed to be like not the top 1%, the top person. That's my takeaway from like the lore of these movies. But it seems like other people, especially on a rewatch here, I noticed like Ana de Armas' dad, or like Eve's dad in the beginning of the movie, he withstands and does stuff I would not have expected from John Wick. I mean, obviously not in the first or probably the second movie either, but like the fourth movie at least, I guess, he would really be like struggling to do the things that Eve's father did in the opening scene. So speaking of the opening scene, let's get to that. This movie is around 2 hours long and the pacing is really good. There's like, with a lot of movies, like action movies, not these John Wick movies, with a lot of action movies, there's usually maybe 2, maybe 3 fights, like big fights that you actually remember, and there was actual budget and choreography and like planning into. I don't mean like a smaller fights don't have planning, but you know what I mean. For example, with the Transformers movies, like Transformers 2, there's only the forest fight and the Egypt fight. I don't really care much about anything else. I cannot even remember anything else really right now. But with this movie here, and like with the other movies too, they all have really good pacing in this sense. We all come for the action, obviously, and we go from one thing to the other, and it's paced really well. It isn't super fast, it isn't a drag, but like the times where there isn't fighting, gun fu, it's very smooth, and like there isn't just 2 or 3 fights. It's like a fight, a small break, some character moments talking or whatever, and then more gun fu out of nowhere sometimes, especially like so the opening scene is like the dad fighting for Eve, and then afterwards we cut to her being a grown-up doing her assassin work. You think she's done with the job, and then you think she's like, it's going to cut to a drive off B-roll footage, but then her car gets crashed into and then the fight keeps on going. Like that sort of fun pacing is like really enjoyable. I'm not sure when this movie takes place really. So like Eve is part of the Ruska Roma, and she's part of the Russian people. If you remember, there was that old Russian lady who owns a ballet theater. She's Ana de Armas is a ballerina. There is also this black woman who I do not remember, and I also don't really know how all of this stuff sort of necessarily fits in. I know you're not supposed to really think about it that much or too hard, but it is what it is, especially at the end, which I guess I'll get to that. Like, it's a small spoiler, I guess, to say, but it is in the trailers if you watch trailers. Also, it's on the poster too. John Wick appears out of nowhere to finish off a favor, which I find it funny. Like, every single time in all of these movies, it's always like John Wick has done something for someone and they owe him a favor, and now it's like the opposite way. John Wick appears, and like at some point it cuts to a scene in the past, like from a different angle, to show that it's like during that time, but I cannot for the life of me place this movie. I cannot understand John Wick traveling across the globe to do one thing, like he's doing his own story, and then he's being called by the Rusko Roma to do a hit job in like somewhere in like Northern Europe or whatever, and like he's getting no sleep. I know you don't think about this these logistical stuffs, but like the human body gets exhausted, and like people need to sleep. When do they sleep? Like John Wick travels in all of these movies to like Italy to Japan with like no sleep. So the opening fight was pretty nice, but like again, like the dad does like some moves that I would not expect the biggest baddest guy John Wick to ever do. After that, we have a small like sort of training montage with Ana de Armas for her to become assassin, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was nice. Her bloodying her feet through ballet was something I did not need to like comprehend, like need to acknowledge, but like that was cringeworthy. I don't need that kind of stuff ever since Black Swan, but it's whatever. Her teacher, the black lady, the black trainer lady, she saying fight like a girl was kind of, again, like that's one of the lines too, like on the nose, kind of forced, cringy, I guess to say. Also, at the end of the montage, when Ana de Armas kicks that guy in the nuts twice, what a dick. Like, she did not need to kick again. She had a grudge, and like she took that grudge out on that guy's balls. I mean, they're just sparring, and he beat her again and again and again, and you finally beat him, and now you have to kick him while he's down. I don't know, man. So after her training montage, for finishing her training, she has to kill a previous assassin, which I thought that scene was pretty cool. Although it doesn't really necessarily make sense, because like the washed up assassin immediately understands that she's a test, but she wastes time, or like she knows it's a test. She knows that they need to kill each other, but she isn't prepared to kill Ana de Armas. And like they have broken down gun in front of them. She doesn't start fixing it. She's also slower. I guess she's like beat up or whatever. She can be slower, but she doesn't take it seriously. Like if you ask me, you should be on top of that no matter what the moment you get. I mean, maybe they had a bullet in a cage. Maybe if you start working on it before it unlocks, you get killed automatically. Who knows? But yeah, right on that scene, at the end of that scene, there are parallels between her killing her first person as a child, which again, we had that like 10 minutes ago. We don't really need to see that, you know? I understand the parallel, sort of. Like, you can show a flash maybe, but then right after that, you see her holding her little music box ballet toy thing. And yeah, that was like it choose one, you know, either a flash of her as a kid or like her holding her heirloom. So yeah, I've been talking about the action and stuff, but like the actual plot of this movie, yeah, the opening scene is like Ana de Armas is a child of a cult, and the father ran away, and the cult wanted to get the kid back, but she was able to run away, and she's grown up now, and she wants to investigate this cult after catching wind of it. So that's basically the plot. Oh yeah, another thing with the plot, like she turns out to be, I guess, like on a second rewatch, I realized they kind of foreshadowed it, I guess. Like, it isn't out of nowhere, but like when you watch it at first, it is really out of nowhere. The fact that Ana de Armas has a sister, and like at the end, this lady is all of a sudden, "You are my sister. I wish I could have had my whole life with you. I missed you so much." And like they had a connection. Like, this lady isn't really that important at all. I don't really care, to be honest. But like it's forcing this like emotional scene. There's also Norman Reedus in this movie. I was pretty excited. I haven't really watched The Walking Dead. I only watched like the first few seasons when I was a lot younger. And I don't remember his name, but I remember him and his character, and like he was pretty cool. And not to mention like PT or whatever, but like seeing him doing this gunfu stuff, like working this stuff. When Ana de Armas breaks into his hotel room and you see that he made a trap, like it's pretty ingenious. And you get a lot of understanding of like how far this character is thinking ahead. Oh, another thing I want to mention before getting into like one of the more funner parts of this movie. It happened a few times actually, like once or twice or three times. There are like grenades in one scene, and Ana de Armas takes an iron door and slams a grenade into, like, pulls the pin on a grenade, slams the door into someone, into a corner, and then like braces against the corner and it explodes. That was like really fun. Again, with all of these John John Wick movies, they're like all so creative, and like their action set pieces are so fun to watch. Which brings me to, like, almost all of these movies have gimmicks in like some scenes. Like they all get so creative. This movie at the end, we have a actual flamethrower, which was really fun to watch. But honestly, this movie kind of overdid it with the slow motion, and also like the sort of replay shots, I guess to say, you know, like how something happens and then it cuts to like 1 second before from another angle. Those shots and also the slow motion was overdone a bit, I feel. The fight with the flamethrower, like during the time that Armas had a flamethrower, she 1v1s this guy, and I swear to God, it probably does not boost his attack or anything or whatever. Like, he does not get a bonus 5 for fire damage. But like, this guy has his leg burnt and he's kicking Armas with a burning leg. It's like over to top ridiculous, but it's just like such a, like, this movie, these movies have been leading into this comic book aesthetic or like over the top aesthetic. Like, none of this is real at the end. Like, the first movie had some realism to it, kind of, but they slowly, like, especially with the second movie a little bit, but like by the third one, it was completely unrealistic. Like, none of this stuff is even fathomably possible for a normal guy, for normal people. And yeah, it's been getting so creative and like doing different things, and like the rule of cool applies. Like, he is not doing any damage, any bonus damage. He should get rid of that fire, but no, she's just kicking with the fire. Yeah, we haven't had one of these for a while, but again, how we do it with these series is we are going to talk about real quick and like do some lightning rounds and give quick reviews for all of the other movies. So when it comes to John Wick 1, I already talked a little bit about it, but like, I think John Wick 1 is a fantastic introduction to the series. It was a lot more realistic compared to the others. It gives a lot of lore. The song Think I really like, and I'm glad that it introduces me to that. The story is quite compelling, although that I'm going to mention it in a moment, but the story gets kind of lost and it becomes the same thing after a while. But the story in this movie is good. It sets up everything about the world really well. The John Wick gun fu it introduces is so nice and so fresh and unique. And then Kingsman does the same thing, but with a small twist or like different style, but whatever. Let's move on. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So then we have John Wick 2. John Wick 2 is just kind of like almost like the perfect kind of sequel. You just get more of what you want, basically. Like, all of these movies are kind of the same, basically. They all kind of mishmash together, although you can definitely see the different changes. But like, quality wise, they're not going above and beyond. This isn't like Citizen Kane, not Shawshank Redemption or anything like that. They're just fun kung fu, gun fu action movies doing their unique style, adding a creative spin every single time, adding new lore, different characters, different backgrounds. Although about that, something that's kind of annoying to me, it's sort of a problem I have with Attack on Titan 2, is that like they introduce a new thing all the time, again and again and again, like out of nowhere. I get it, like John Wick is a veteran, but like all the time something new comes up, you know. Also the my hands scene, you know, that's like really cool. Like I said, all these movies kind of blur together. I'm just gonna go ahead and give John Wick 2 a 7 as well. All right, so now here's my sort of more controversial review here, quickie review. I don't think John Wick Chapter 3 is all that good. I do not. I swear to God, this is a downgrade, and not like a small, it's like substantial. The other movies, this one, like Ballerina 2, have good pacing. They flow together well, but John Wick 3 drags out. It is not substantially longer than the other movies. It is not 2.5 hours. Like it says here on Google, it's like 2 hours and like 10 minutes. But you can feel that extra 10-20 minutes. Like a few of it is in the credits too, right? You can feel the extra minutes on this movie. It does not flow well. The parts in the desert do not go well. I remember the first time watching, I was like very confused about this like elder sort of character. But then again, like this is a part where it really heavily goes into the comic book aspect with like the sort of almost mystical kind of like, just don't think about it. The rule of cool applies. Like these people, they have their ways. Somehow a man can be traveling in the desert and somehow he can be super like, you know, he's all knowing, the one on the table or whatever. In this movie, I remember it's this one, right? The horse. Yeah, the horse fighting in this movie, that was pretty cool. And then another scene where they enter the mirror house. Oh, that was the previous movie. Okay, yeah. Another thing too, with these movies, they always add like these wrestlers and stuff too. That's kind of cool. Or like, I'm not sure if they're wrestlers, but I'm pretty sure the person from like John Wick 2, the bad person, is like a wrestler or whatever too. I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. Who knows? Speaking of John Wick 2, I remember something else, like when John Wick is fighting that other black guy in Italy. That's a fun scene. They're just, you working again? Oh wait, no, that's the cop. But like that's another famous thing or whatever too. I'm getting way too. These aren't supposed to be lightning rounds. Whatever. I like, you working again, John? Whatever. And then like in Italy, in John Wick 2, he sees his old like colleague and they understand, oh, they're both there for business or whatever. I like that John Wick, you can see him prepare. I like the suiting up montages, like the whole sophisticated, they use different words for everything. But then again, at the end, they have to like break the facade at some point. At some point, it just becomes real and they have to use actual firearms terminology. So yeah, that's that for John Wick 2. I like the horse scene in John Wick 3. In John Wick 3, John Wick falls off 4 flights of fucking stairs, probably 6. There was a whole assault on the Continental, which I thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of like, I think I'm going to get to it later, but like I think everyone sort of understands, like both with comic books, like this franchise's comic book roots, they also started adding like sort of gameplay homages, I feel. And like with the assault on the Continental, adding these bulletproof helmets really added a different gimmick to the scene, and like the characters had to think of something else too. Speaking of characters, I don't think Winston, no, not his name, I don't think Karen should have been able to fight like side by side with John Wick. I don't think he's that skillful. Anyway, like the headshots that John Wick is known for not working in the Continental scene, that's a cool thing. Later on, like this was especially on my first watching years ago, this especially dragged out, like I noticed to myself at the end of the assault on the Continental, where John Wick is like now doing like boss fights. He's like 2v1ing or 1v2ing like these two twins who like mixed martial artists or whatever. That's, I mean, like we're doing the same things over and over again. Also, like again, these people are superheroes. They're not ordinary people. They leaned into it over time. They're just hitting each other, breaking through glass, breaking through glass floors, falling on floors. Like if I fall down just at normal standing height, I will break my tailbone or something and I will not be able to get up for months. So yeah, these are like fantasy entirely. Yeah, after he like tag teams, after he like 1v2s these two people, he then fights the actual bald guy, which is like neat enough, but like it's going on for too much, and like, man, I need a break, dude. Like I think the pacing is more so not about the time, but like not being able to like take a break, you know? At some point the action just goes on and goes on and goes on, and like I get sort of numb to it. I think that's more so what we're meaning here by pacing. So yeah, John Wick 3, I actually sadly, I barely think this movie is even worth it, frankly. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. After like I said, almost all these movies are the same, giving them a 7. After 7, giving this a 5, dude, that's big. After that, we have John Wick 4, and I'm looking at it on Google right now, and despite everything, the first John Wick, 1 hour, 40 minutes, the second, 2 hours, the third, 2 hours again, and John Wick 4, almost 3 hours. But I actually thought the pacing on this is a lot more better. I like it. The things that stand out to me the most is obviously the stairs scenes, like at the end, the stairs scene where he's fighting up all the stairs in Paris. And then at the end, just as he's almost there, he gets kicked down. The other thing that stands out to me, I like the music that plays during the beginning of the chase in Paris. I like him going around the arch in the car. I really like that. I like the black guy, the hunter and his dog. Speaking of dogs, I didn't even mention Halle Berry and her dogs. I didn't think Halle Berry was that good in John Wick 3 either. I forgot to mention that. But the dogs were neato, and it's really impressive that they not only that they're doing gun fu, like this different type of genre that they basically invented themselves, but then they're also incorporating animals into it. That's like really cool. I didn't also mention in John Wick 3, this is going everywhere, and I'm not finishing. This is not lightning round. I did not like how I find it weird, just like random cutting of hands. John Wick loses a finger in, I can't remember which movie. I think it was the fourth movie. Yeah, I think IP Man, the Pennywise stabs IP Man in his hand, stupidly, unnecessarily. Or was that the black guy? I cannot remember. He stabs him in his hand and he has to pull his hand out. It's ridiculous. This stuff I just don't understand. He wants to hire him as his own bounty hunter too, but he impairs him. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, also the bounty hunter is frankly better than John Wick. He could have killed John Wick at any point that he wanted to. I think the incorporation of I cannot remember that actor's name for my life, but I know him. I know he's famous. That one Asian actor. I'm just going to call him Scorpion because he's dressed in yellow in Shogun, which I'll talk about later, not in this video. Yeah, I'm talking about way too many things right now. What was I even saying? Anyway, again, John Wick knows everyone, everywhere, all the time. They added, him just to die. Yeah, they added him, and they gave him a 1v1 with IP Man just to watch him die. And, we know the actor, and we know, he's legendary or whatever, and, we feel kind of sad because of that. But other than that, we do not care about this character. And, he has a daughter, and, she becomes a gimmick at the, throughout the movie, kind of. Yeah, John Wick Chapter 4. Also, I do not like the subtitle Parabellum for John Wick 3. The ending of that movie was also forced. I do not like John Wick 3, man. Anyway, John Wick Chapter 4. We all kind of knew this was kind of the end of John Wick. It's been a while. This franchise was going on for 9 years, and that's kind of surprising. 9 years and only 4 movies. MCU spoiled all of us, I swear. Anyway, this was about time for all of it to come to a close. No, not everyone. You can definitely tell, especially with the stairs. Keanu Reeves is not a spring chicken. He is pushing. I mentioned it in a Sonic 3 video, but I cannot remember. He is old, man. And they sort of forced this motif that they also brought back during Ballerina, actions and consequences. Again, all of these movies kind of blur together. At the beginning, John Wick loses his wife to cancer, okay. Then he loses his dog, he loses his car, and he gets revenge for that. And now he's dealing with the consequences for those actions. Throughout all of these movies, it's the same thing. He tries to get out of this life, but he just cannot. And each time, there's a sort of mishap in his ideas, and it just does not work. And it happens again and again and again and again. And he always knows someone in the world, and he gets bailed out through their help because they owed him a favor or whatever, But overall, despite the movie kind of being long, I liked it. I liked it better. And I think it's actually not exactly the same as all of the other movies. I think it's actually better. And I liked the ending. He literally died. He's literally like me, for real, dying at a sunset on a bunch of stairs, just like Blade Runner, So I'm giving this movie a 8 out of 10. Man, I have been talking for such a long time. I was stressing out. I did not know if I could talk that much about these things, but here I am. I wanted to do a bunch of lightning rounds, but I could not do that. I was going to give a quick recap about my thoughts about Ballerina, but whatever. Actually, no, I cannot. I forgot again. John Wick 4, they were leaning into the comic book ideas. They were leaning into the sort of semi-game ideas with John Wick 3, like not being able to do headshots or whatever, that new gimmick. And then John Wick 4, they outright, obviously, very much gave a Hotline Miami reference with the camera panning up, and then we have a bird's eye view about everything. That scene was so cool. I swear to God, that scene alone is not bumping up the movie to an 8 out of 10. But that scene was so cool. I liked it so much. Anyway, I wanted to give a brief recap before I finish off this video of Ballerina, but I don't think we have the time for it. I want to mention at the end, again, I liked the addition of the flamethrower, and I like how they add new things every single time. Yeah, overall, yeah, I talked a long time here. Thank you all for sticking around. Overall, again, I think these movies are mostly the same. I'm giving Ballerina a 7 out of 10. So, yeah, there's a tier list. There's a letterbox. Thank you all for watching. Tell me in the comments what you guys think about John Wick. No, From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. What a title, you know, or just Ballerina, right? Or the John Wick franchise in a whole. Tell me what you think about Gun Fu. Like I said, I think this like was sort of adopted by Kingsman. Kingsman has its own small, like different style, but like, you know, the fight in the church, you know, like that's just Gun Fu right there. Like all like, it's very similar. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to. Follow me on Twitter. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all again. Bye, everyone.